I'm going to introduce you to a new initiative that I started 6 weeks ago, which is guided live virtual tour, like a Zoom tour every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to join it and get my emails once a week, last week was Beersheba. The week before that was the mystical city of Tzfat. Every week I'm taking you to a different place. So if you're interested in joining this, it's a 16-minute tour every week. This is my email, moshegold75@gmail.com. I think we have a few people from this community already joining. It's free to register. You can always buy me a coffee after the tour or give a little tip or donation if you want, but it's free. So feel free to join by sending me a quick email, moshegold75@gmail, every week on Sunday. Back to a few weeks ago, it was actually very optimistic, I have to say. Although the battles up north have been intensifying throughout the past few weeks, ever since the beginning of the ceasefire war, and I say that cynically, because ever since April 7th, when a ceasefire was signed for 2 weeks only to continue the discussions with the Iranians, right? That was the beginning of it. Ever since that, our battles in southern Lebanon, in Lebanon, and the border within Israel, communities are suffering a lot from Hezbollah and specifically from drones. But I have to say, all over the rest of the country, and this is the juxtaposition, up north, it's a war zone. But if you're in Jerusalem, you don't really feel that. There's no sirens. Life pretty much went back to normal, other than those every morning 2 words that we hear on the radio. Hutar lepirsum. Hutar means was allowed, and pirsum to publicize. So it was allowed to publicize after speaking to the family and announcing to them. But those 2 words are allowed to publicize the name of the fallen soldiers. This has become a reality up north. And, that's definitely something I want to talk about. The difference about living up north right now and the difference about, living in the center of Israel, Jerusalem, or even down south. But Shavuot was a big high in the past few weeks. I can't skip that because I think that, yes, this is a difficult time. We keep talking in our sessions, and we had a session, I think, in April. We keep talking about resilience and Israeli society and so many things to also be proud of. Shavuot, for all the agricultural communities down south, up north, in the center, all the moshavim and kibbutzim, it's a big high. I remember as a kid going to the kibbutzim, specifically a kibbutz called Kibbutz Revivim, and basically celebrating with the kibbutzniks. They may not be religious kibbutzim, but the connection to the land and, the connection to this Jewish holiday where we're celebrating harvest is an amazing, beautiful Jewish Israeli tradition ever since the first kibbutz was built in Degania in 1909. So here you have kibbutzniks down in the Gaza envelope dancing, a tractor just beyond them, men and women dancing together, some kind of like hora, Israeli folk dancing. And here you have the men doing the funny, comic, but also like traditional kibbutz men's dance with working out in the field with those, work utensils. And then you have the famous tractor. Now, I know this is a little bit smaller. I cannot make it bigger, but try and understand that what you're looking at is tractors. But what's more interesting to me, this is a friend that actually sent this to me, Noga, and she is connected to Kibbutz Nir Oz. Kibbutz Nir Oz is a kibbutz down south in the Gaza envelope that lost 1 of 4 of their people during October 7th. Many were taken hostages, many others were murdered by the Hamas. Most of the Nir Oz are not back. They came back for the Shavuot celebration, and there are some people, especially youngsters and new people, that are back in Nir Oz. Here is the dance.
מלאו אסמנו בר וקבנו יין, בתינו הומים, הומים מתינוקות, ובהמתנו פורה, מה עוד תבקשי מאיתנו מכורה, ואין עדיין, מה עוד תבקשי מאיתנו מכורה, ואין עדיין.
By the way, do you hear the sound? Could someone give me a thumbs up if you can hear the sound? Can't really see you. You do hear me? And you probably know that song. I know you know that song and that melody, but how beautiful is it? And especially to put this in context, when you're looking at this video, please understand that they just harvested these fields where they grew things even during this year and last year, even though the kibbutz is not back. Over 90% of the people from the Gaza envelope are back in their homes, but there are a few kibbutzim that are not back yet in full. One of them is kibbutz Nir Oz. I have to tell you just a little personal story, maybe through that to understand how cool this is. There's a neighbor right by me over here in my little moshav outside of Jerusalem, a neighbor called Orit, and her mother is from Nir Oz. She still lives there. Her mother's in her 80s. Orit grew up in kibbutz Nir Oz and now lives in my moshav. She comes to me, 2 or 3 weeks ago, just before Shavuot, and she gives me a big bag in my hand, and she says, "Moshe, this is for you. I know you guide in the Gaza envelope, and you visited Nir Oz, and you're invested in, in this whole these communities. I want you to have this." What is she holding in her hand? A bag of potatoes. They're famous for growing their potatoes. I said, "Oh, potatoes, thank you." She says, "Yes, but these are potatoes from my kibbutz, from kibbutz Nir Oz." Now, I don't know if you remember in one of my first sessions in the beginning, right after October 7th, I told her the story of Orit, my neighbor's mother, who was walking in the street 2 days after October 7th, and so was I with my girls and my wife. We see her mother and Orit, and she doesn't look good, the grandmother, and we basically say, "Are you okay?" She says, "Not so much." "Why are you not okay?" "I'm not okay because my neighbor was murdered. She was burnt in her house, and my other neighbor was taken hostage to Gaza." To see those potatoes in my hand and to understand where we are today and where we were back then, it's not. I'm not happy, but there's yes, I'm also happy. I'm joy. There's a joy that comes with, how do we say, hazorim bedima, those who plant the seeds or put the seeds in the ground with a tear later on. Hazorim bedima will have their happiness later on, and this is part of the happiness of returning back to the land. It's happening all over Israel, and in Gaza envelope, it's very special. One of the best parts of the Shavuot thing going on in the kibbutzim is this part. Let me make the screen bigger so you could see this. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the sound as well. This is the men of the kibbutz, and what are they holding? The bikurim, right? Bikurim, they're little newborns. This is a tradition in the kibbutz Nachal Oz, also on the border with Gaza envelope. Don't mistake it for Nir Oz. Nachal Oz is closer to kibbutz Saad, in the center of the Gaza envelope area. So here we go. Let's take a look. My girls are still singing that song of Shavuot. They're obsessed with the whole Shavuot story and Ruth and Boaz and David's connection later on. But look at those smiles. Listen to the crowd cheering. This is in a kibbutz that was attacked. And already, not like Nir Oz, this is Nachal Oz, and it's 800 meters away. What's that? 2,400 feet from the actual border with Gaza. They're back. They're there. Now, one last thing. I know I'm going a little bit, a lot onto this whole Shavuot thing, but I think it represents something. This man on the right with the cowboy hat, maybe you can see him. You'll hear him talking in a moment. His name is Gadi Moses. He's 84, 85 years old. He was over 500 days a hostage taken from kibbutz Nir Oz to the other side of the border during October 7th. He is back home. His motto for the young people of the kibbutz that are, and especially the gap year students that are in the kibbutz, is everything okay?
Yeah, everything.
Okay. Gadi Moses basically says they can't win us. We're staying here. We're not leaving. We're gonna plow. We're gonna plant, and we're gonna harvest. And he also says, and this is amazing to me, and this is how after he returned from captivity, from the torture of being in captivity on his own for over 500 days, on this Shavuot he says, and you know what? We pray and strive for shalom, even with everything he went through. So when we look at the news in Israel, the Iran and the Lebanon and the bad and the politician, all these the mess that we go through sometimes. There's so much to be proud of. For me, it's about the people, these heroes, these people that really give us a way to continue breathing in the morning and say, wow, I want to be part of this miracle called the state of Israel and the people of Israel. Listen to this. They're going to let the doves fly into the sky, a sign of peace. Oh.
אנחנו עדיין מאמינים שאנחנו רוצים לשלום ואנחנו נעשה כל מאמץ לעשות שלום ומייצגת את השלום בינינו לבין העולם. אז ילדים יקרים, הנה גם המסוף שחייה אחד, מוכנים? אחד, שתיים, שלוש, נפריח אותם. יופי.
Once again, context of who this man is. He was a hostage of Hamas. He's a believer in peace. These were good times for us, and they still are good times. We're on the way here to a wedding just 2 weeks ago, and a wedding on a kibbutz for Vered's niece called Noya. And my daughters, the first thing they do when they get to the kibbutz, they go up to this haystack. In Hebrew, we call it bala. Every one of these pieces of haystacks is a bala. And they're wearing their white dresses because they're supposed to be the, how do you say, shushbina, the ones who walk the bride and groom. Those are my two daughters and one of their cousins. And there's something about a chatuna in the kibbutz which is just so amazing. That's my girls. It's as if they're taking pictures of them, but balloons are coming out, and that's my wife taking pictures of her niece getting married. And there was something about the chuppah that was just so beautiful, so simple, so about meaning, not only happy, not only laughing and happy and joy. No, there was something about the rabbi on the right there with the light blue, basically saying, me and the Khatan are friends. We just came back from reserves. That's how we met and we became friends. And we realized that while we're here on the kibbutz, not far away from us is the Gaza envelope and the Gaza border. This is a kibbutz down south called Mishmar HaNegev, near Beersheba. And we realize there's people up north that are being shot at with missiles, and we realize this is complicated and complex like it always is in Israel. But that's what the Imesh Kachech and breaking the glass is always about in the wedding, he says. He said this in like 2 sentences. I'm making it long. He says, even in your happy times, you remember Jerusalem, you remember the destructions, you remember parts in your life that are worth remembering and what connects you to this land and to this people. The whole chuppah was literally 15 minutes. He started right after this short speech, the brachot, and mostly 99% of the people were secular people. I don't know how to explain it. It was so simple and so beautiful. Look how the tree in the back is painted in purple, and back of us is the haystacks. A lot of young people. These guys are in their 20s. The Khatan has been more than 500 days in reserves in Syria and in Lebanon and in Gaza. And his wife was a reserve soldier as well, and still is in Gaza as well. So a typical part of Israel that I'm so proud of. I think we all are. But these are the people that, give us some more air and happiness and joy and meaning to continuing here in this place. Move forward to this Friday. And now we're getting a little bit closer to today. My daughters, my wife are in Gush Etzion and a kibbutz called Kfar Etzion. You may have heard of Kfar Etzion. Kfar Etzion existed even before we had a state. 1943, Kfar Etzion in Gush Etzion, the Etzion block of communities south of Jerusalem. It was already a community back there, but then it was conquered by the Jordanian army, by the Arab Legion, the Jordanian army, and basically we're picking cherries in Gush Etzion. This is the time of year a reminder that even with everything that happens, the missiles and the drones and the Hezbollah and Iran and all the bad stuff, nature doesn't wait. It continues. If it's those fields in Nir Oz or the potatoes in Nir Oz, or the cycle of agriculture and nature keeps on going. My girls were so happy to pick these cherries. There were literally hundreds of people from Jerusalem, from Tel Aviv, from Beersheba that came. It's only like a 2-week thing, and they tell you can pick cherries, then you pay for them, but that experience is amazing for the kids. So we're picking the cherries. Those are my daughters, eating the cherries, getting the picture, and we go back home for Shabbat after visiting our wonderful friends from that kibbutz Kfar Etzion, and we celebrate a very peaceful Shabbat, even with everything that's happening in the north. For us, near Jerusalem, again, it was very peaceful. We come back home. We start the week, on Sunday, and then again, those 2 words on Sunday morning, and the 2 words are Hutar lepirsum, it's allowed to publicize, that Shachar Gamla was killed from a drone attack on the border of Lebanon. He's an officer in the special unit in the Israeli army, 23 years old, and he's also from a family that I was friends with and connected to when I was in a gap year program up north in the Golan Heights. His father's a big warrior, is amazing people, so idealistic, so connected to the land. So and he went out there with his soldiers and tried to protect the northern border of Israel, and he was killed from a drone hitting directly him and other soldiers. Others were injured. So that was on Sunday morning that we heard that. Another soldier was declared dead after, by mistake, shooting his own gun. That also happens when you're in fighting and, all these people holding guns. That also happens, even for trained soldiers. So that was a very sad day on Sunday. But what we heard later on in the afternoon on Sunday was the following. There's been a back and forth, between Hezbollah and Israeli Defense Force and the southern part of Lebanon. Israel was saying that if this continues, we're going to attack the capital of Lebanon, the city of Beirut, and the headquarters in different parts of Lebanon, including the capital itself, of the Hezbollah, of the terrorist organization. And we actually attack on Sunday evening, and we hear from Iran that there's going to be a consequence here. They're trying to make an equation where basically, Hezbollah was trying to show solidarity and work for Iran ever since, the beginning of the Roaring Lion operation in the end of February, beginning of March. Now Iran is saying the opposite. They're saying, if Israel keeps fighting Hezbollah and, knocks them down in the center of Beirut, target assassinating the bad guys, we're going to shoot missiles from Iran to show that there's an equation here. You hurt our proxies, we're going to immediately shoot missiles to you. That's a huge thing that never happened before. It happened, please understand, it happened the other way around. Whenever, something happened and Iran wanted to say something, right? Or it wanted to show something about their response, they would send the proxies to do the work. But Iran did shoot the next morning. I went to sleep very, very late. I admit I was a little bit nervous. The first period of the Roaring Lion operation, right? There's Rising Lion. Then that was in June of 25. Later on, end of February, beginning of March, for 40 days, all the way to April 7th, we're talking about, which is a ceasefire, we're talking about the Roaring Lion. And that was very traumatic because we were shot at again and again and again, and we don't have a safe room. I told you this many times before. So we have to run 250 meters or get into the car, not even put I'm sorry to say this out loud, it's a bad thing to say, but we don't even have the time to put on the seatbelt. If it's the middle of the night and a siren's going to go off in a second, and we know that the missiles are aimed also to the area of Jerusalem and bases in the area not far from here, we got to the shelter 250 meters away, 750 feet away, very quickly with the car. So that's what we did at 6 o'clock in the morning when this started. I told you I went to sleep late. I woke up from the preparation sound on my phone and Verit sound. Carmi was sleeping in our bed for some reason. She does this a lot in the middle of the night. So I said, Carmi, I didn't even have to continue the wording of let's get out of the house. We're going to the miklat, to the shelter. She said, yes, yes, la miklat, la miklat. I don't know if that's good or bad, but she knew what to do. I grabbed Shai. Vered grabbed Carmi. We threw them in the car. We drove. It's a 2 second drive, literally 20 seconds, if to be accurate. And we got there just in time as the siren was starting. We went back home. This is 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, we're all like drowsy, whatever. There's 30, 40 people in this miklat. Everybody's annoyed and tired and smiling, but not really smiling. It was funny, but it wasn't funny. People are saying, oh my God, is this happening again? Is this going to really happen again? And the first thing I said to Ved after this first alert, I said, let's go to my parents' house. We're not doing this again. It's too dangerous. We live too far from the shelter. We don't have a safe room. A few minutes later, we hear the same sound on our phone that you can't ignore. It basically says, go and be at the entrance to your safe room or shelter. So for us, that means we have to walk now because otherwise we're not going to make it in time. And I decide to walk with one girl who doesn't want to get into the car. She's having a whole like, no, I'm not going into the car. I'll walk with Abba. So I walk with Shai. Carmi goes in the car with Vered, with my wife. On the way to the shelter, we thought we had time. On the way to the shelter, right above us, a huge boom. Maybe the biggest boom I've heard so far in this entire war. And we both jumped. We're basically running at this point, and Chai says, Mazen, Mazen, what's that? What's that? I said, it's nothing. It's just a noise, the shtuyot. Let's do a little run to the shelter. You want to do a little run? And I try and on one hand explain that we have to run, but another, she doesn't want to be picked up. So we run and we hear the siren going off during that interception of the missile right above our head. They're aiming at specific army bases. Now we know almost 30 missiles. They at first said 23. Now we know it's about 30. Some of the missiles may be even hit. We don't always know about this from the censorship. We go immediately, kind of like almost push her into the shelter underground. But that was scary. I saw Vered and Carmi, running it right before us. This is Carmi, my daughter, and this is Vered, my wife, and the other daughter is sitting on me, and that's what our faces look like at that moment in the morning. We had two more sirens that morning, two more alerts, not sirens. They didn't actually become alerts. They didn't become actual sirens, but we had to run 4 times within an hour and a half to the shelter. So, and then of course, no school today. They already announced that the day before. So how do we move on during this day? We try and keep up ourselves, and most importantly, the girls very active. I see this photo later on by a friend of mine called Moshe Bernstein. He's a Haredi guy, not the guy in the picture, but the guy taking the picture. This is right by the top of the Dead Sea, and this is real. It's not AI. This is a missile that was intercepted. It's burnt, but it's pretty much fully in the shape of the missile, stuck down in the ground. It became like a tourist attractions for Israelis that day, which is not a little, but very dangerous. You're not supposed to do that. People are taking these funny pictures. There's nothing funny about a missile like that being shot to civilians and army bases where you live. We're the size of New Jersey, this country. And wherever the missile is shot, we hear the interception, and we hear it even stronger when it actually lands and is not intercepted. But that noise we heard that morning was very, very alarming. Israelis are getting very fed up with this whole situation. Some people are making these cynical jokes on Facebook and social media. It says in Hebrew, the war of, I'll read it in Hebrew, Milchemet Pihuk Ari. Ari means lion, Milchama, right? So the war of the yawn of the lion. He's yawning, right? We're just tired of this. We're tired of hearing how we already have achieved the absolute victory over Iran and Hezbollah, and it's going to end very soon. And tomorrow the agreement will be signed, and then more and more soldiers are being killed. We're tired, all of us, right and left. And there's this sense of what is this going to be an ongoing thing? After June of 2025, preemptive attack of Israel over Iran, and then that 12-day war. We were told we really, really harmed Iran. The whole nuclear plant thing there, the whole America joining and bombing with those big bombers, we got them. That's it. Now we're have quiet for years, if not more. And a few months later, the end of February, beginning of March, already a 40-day continuation of the Iranian attack, even more intense than it was in June. So is this going to be like this every time Hezbollah and Israel are fighting each other? They shoot drones, we shoot southern Lebanon, we conquer a security zone, which a lot of people are not happy about, right? But many people understand if we're not in that security zone in a place called the Beaufort, which is a Crusader fortress that we conquered several times in history, the Hezbollah will come all the way to our border. So people are tired of this whole situation. I told you about Shavuot, and I told you about picking cherries, and I told you about what happened in the past few days with the missiles. Here's how people up north are celebrating holidays, and specifically Shavuot. They're not having their fathers dance with them, and they're not having the tractors do the traditional tractor dance. This is what happens during the Shavuot ceremony in a school in Kiryat Shmona up north.
שבועות, חג שבועות בקריית שמונה.
Include your children in everything.
Again, those are kids, they're kids. They're probably in first grade or second grade, and we keep seeing these clips and movies of parents that probably should be or teachers should be laying down on those kids, but they're also photographing this. I'm not judging anyone, but they choose to photograph it to show it to the world. This is how they're living. They thought that things are getting quieter, and then Hezbollah is shooting directly to schools and to the city of Kiryat Shmona, and houses and schools and hospitals are being targeted. And a few days ago, up in a few miles north of the Israeli-Lebanon border, in the Crusader ancient fortress of Beaufort, you have a switch of the commanders of the Golani Brigade, right? They're doing a little ceremony. The flag of Israel is up, but this is like a sign to the people of Israel. Hey, we conquered the Beaufort. Now you'll be safe because the Beaufort is up on a hill, this ancient fortress, and now we can strategically control this whole area, and we will not allow Hezbollah to come near. Of course, this new head of this brigade knows that that's not true. Maybe we have more control, but they still have drones, they still have long distance missiles, but it's a statement to have a picture like that. And then come Hezbollah, and in the past few weeks, use technology that is not very sophisticated. That's a piece of a bomb on the bottom of the drone. It could fly a few miles, a few kilometers, all the way into the state of Israel, but they're mostly aiming their explosive drones that explode on soldiers and on Hummer Jeeps and on, every kind of whatever you want to say about Israeli soldiers, they're aiming at the soldiers. As a drone flyer myself, for photography, I know that they could very easily, with just, their phone, holding their phone as a joystick, they can look at my fingers. They're looking at the picture on the phone, and the drone shows you the picture of where it's flying, and you can actually aim at a specific person. They try to get heads of brigades and officers in our army. Unfortunately, they're very successful. And every day, I don't want to say every day, right? But it's a real danger. What are Israeli Defense Forces doing? They're trying to invent. All of our best of the best scientists are trying to find out how to stop them from coming near, maybe an electromagnetic, whatever field that will stop them from even approaching our troops. But some soldiers and some tanks and some jeeps have a metal net or just a regular net put above their vehicles so that it explodes above them and not on them. So there is no real solution so far. It's still a huge problem. If you look at this photo here, this was taken a couple weeks ago. There's injured soldiers in southern Lebanon after fighting with Hezbollah. A Israeli helicopter comes to take them to the hospital. They have to do it super quick. When you're on the ground, you could be shot immediately. They have lookouts towards us as well. And here's what happens. While the soldiers are getting the injured soldiers into the rescue, which is the helicopter, Hezbollah sends a drone to hit the helicopter and the soldiers. Helicopter lands. These are Israeli troops trying to save their friend who's severely injured. It's a mess because, some soldiers are supposed to look at the buildings nearby to make sure nobody's shooting. And now look at what happens in just a second. And this past censorship. It was in Israeli news. Maybe you saw it. They run away. They're supposed to run away from the helicopter. But at this second, you'll see in a moment, there'll be a prompt about this. There'll be a sign. It says a drone is attacking and landing right by the soldiers. It's going to boom in a second. And the Golani soldiers are almost hit. Do you see that? Did you just see that?
Yeah.
It's hard to see this. This is our boys and girls and heroes that are protecting us, but this is going on. Amazing news in the past few weeks from Joseph Aoun, which is the president of Lebanon, not a big supporter of Hezbollah, which is the Shiite Muslim terrorist organization that's holding Lebanon and their civilians, most of them, as a hostage, using them in their country as a proxy of Iran. Iran gives them billions of dollars every year. Joseph Aoun says, look, and this is with our ambassador in the States and Lebanon's ambassador in the States, you for sure heard about this, trying to come to an agreement between the country Lebanon and Israel, not with Hezbollah. But the problem is that Hezbollah is in many ways stronger. It has more ammunition, more training than the actual forces of Lebanon. And when they heard about this agreement, they said, no way, we're here and we're not going to give in to this president. And we are saving the people of Lebanon. And Iran is our supporter. How can we go against Iran? This is the Hezbollah terrorists speaking. The days of living up north in the past few weeks look like this. This is an Arab Israeli advocate for Israel called Yosef Haddad. You may have heard of him. He's going to talk in Hebrew. I'm going to try and translate him, but you don't really need the words. He basically says, friends, look at how life up north looks like right now while you're sitting in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem.
ידעתם שזה קרה אתמול
You know,
במדינה
this
שלנו?
actually happened just yesterday. They
חורמה זה מטח!
I'm going to stop it here, but he's trying to say, do you realize this is the life here? And this guy lives in Kiryat Shmona, and I'm sorry, there's a lot of Hebrew. I couldn't find for everything. I couldn't find an English translation, but he basically says, and I want you to hear the wording, I live in Kiryat Shmona, which is on the border of Lebanon. My kids are here. I did not vote for Trump. Why is Trump telling us not to, he's telling our government and our IDF basically not to defend us. Let Trump come for a visit and see what life looks like when you're shot, civilians are shot by missiles every day.
בטראמפ לראשות ממשלה, אני בחרתי במפלגה אחרת. אני באופן אישי לא צריך כתושב קריית שמונה לשלם בבריאות שלי ובביטחון שלי בגלל העסקאות הפוליטיות.
I don't have to pay in my security and in my health for political deals. We need to take care of ourselves, he says. My country should take care of me. There's huge frustration right now up north. Every day in the news and every one of the channels, 11, 12, 13, 14, any channel, they talk about the people in the north basically saying, the government forgot us. If this happened, even half of this would happen in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, they wouldn't even think about not going into Lebanon and clearing a big part of Lebanon out and getting all of Hezbollah. This is happening again and again and again, and we can't just listen to what Trump needs from us for a deal that is going to harm our own civilians. I put a page on here because I need you to know that Israelis take care of each other and Jews take care of each other all over the world. This website is called safon.il.com, and it basically sends people, and it's on the news all the time as well, on Facebook, all the social media. And it basically says, if you want to help someone from the north that has a business and is not making a cent in the past, almost 3 years since the beginning of the war, go to this list and buy something from the people up north. If it's fruit that could be to you, jewelry, whatever it is that's made of.
Nice.
So you can write down this website, Safon, which means north, tzafon.il.com.
What
But
are you
there's so many
trying to do?
websites basically saying we want to help our
Well,
brothers.
but he's saying how
How do we do
other
it?
Israelis are
So-
supporting them.
I just
So-
need
Buy
people
their
to
products.
mute.
Go online.
Just a
Their
second.
businesses are like defunct.
Neda Schmidt, could you mute your?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's totally fine. So again, I'll just explain again. My point here was that Israelis and I think Jews all over the world, we're looking at the people up north. We didn't forget them. We know that it's hell there right now, and I can't even put myself in the situation of this huge dilemma. On one hand, trying to get to a deal. On the other hand, they're being shot at every day. There's a war going on. How do we stop this? How do we save our kids? And the businesses not making a cent for the past 3 years, and a feeling that the government is not really seeing them in the right way. But you know what? I want to shift and move into one of our other dangers in Israel right now, but also in one of the things that I'm very proud of, the things that bring me hope. Over the past few months, there's been this, group of people on the right wing of Israeli politics, on the left wing of Israeli politics, that are making all these clips and movies, interviewing people out in the street, trying to interview leaders of politics, singers, influencers. There's one guy called Mordechai David. You could see this. This is on Instagram, on one of the networks on social media. Mordechai David is right wing. He's a big supporter of Bibi. And unfortunately, what he brings is a lot of hatred. Goes up, in this case, you'll see in a moment, to Yair Golan, the head of the Labor Party. Number 2 in the Israeli army up until recently, until he became a politician. During October 7th, Yair Golan fought to save people near the Gaza envelope by the Nova Festival. He fought his entire life. You cannot say the man is not brave. He fought for our security and safety. And Mordechai David apparently served in the army, who was also a type of criminal. He's not a lawful person. He is an advocate for Bibi. And that says a lot, I think, about how some of the people from the government, instead of attacking people on the street and putting a phone in their face and using derogatory and violent language towards leaders and people from the left and the center, if you're from the right wing and you're a nivchar tzibur, if you're an elected member of Knesset or minister, you should come out a second later and say, this is not our way. We're one people, right? We can't act like this. I want you to see what he's doing. He has all these bullies with him, and he puts a camera in the face of one of the leaders of one of our parties called the Labor Party.
פחדן, אה? מי רוצה תינוקות כתחביב? תגיד! תגיד! זהו, שתעיף אותו. מי רוצה תינוקות כתחביב? מי רוצה תינוקות כתחביב? פחדן! אתה אומר לביבי בוגד? מי אתה שתגיד לו בוגד?
Who are you? He says. Who are the guy yelling and screaming with the black hat is yelling at Yair Golan. You say that Bibi is a traitor? You're a coward. What did you do for this state? You're not going to go anywhere. We're going to follow you around. So basically, all these people around him are except one with the yellow jacket, who's his security, are like bullies that are making sure that others cannot help Yair Golan.
מי אתה שתגיד לו בוגד? מי אתה שתגיד לביבי בוגד? יא פחדן! חוסמים אותך היום! תעיף אותו.
I mean, seriously, like, I have memories from Yitzhak Rabin in the mid-90s, and I have memories from before October 7th and the atmosphere we had there. Is this what we need to have right now when our soldiers are fighting up in Lebanon, protecting us, when the best of the best are trying to make us feel safe with everything that's happening with Iran, where our enemies are just waiting to smell that smell of fear and weakness that they actually smelled and knew that they can attack on October 7th? We're fighting each other again and again and again, and in a violent way. This is the former head of the Reform Movement, a member of Knesset called Gilad Kariv. He's a rabbi, the guy on the left, and when Mordechai David comes up to him, Gilad Kariv has a very loud voice. You'll hear him yelling back and saying, "Who are you? You're yelling at me? Who are you? You're like just a little boy." So, I don't agree or disagree with what people are saying here, but I want you to look at different personalities and how they respond. This guy's literally harassing him violently, and he decides to not shut up, but to respond vocally towards Mordechai David.
לך תתנדב בבית לוינשטיין, אתה לא מתנדב, אתה לא עושה כלום, אתה עבריין צעצוע.
Gilad Kariv says to him, go be a volunteer in one of the rehabilitation centers. You talk a lot, go help the soldiers, go be a reservist yourself. You're coming to me? What kind of person are you? And then just a few weeks ago, and I promise we're going to go to the up in a moment, but this is reality. The second man in line, and second, the vice justice of the Supreme Court of Israel attacked, literally his house is attacked by almost 100 ultra-Orthodox youngsters who come to Alon Shvut in Gush Etzion, about 10 miles south of Jerusalem, and his house is attacked and vandalized. He hides with his wife in his home. And why are they attacking him? Because he's one of the people from the committee of the Supreme Court that are supposed to talk about this new law discussing how to bring more ultra-Orthodox into the army and how to make sure that a law like that is legislated. So they're coming to attack him in his home. They ruin parts of his house. They vandalize his car. They attack to come into his home. His wife uses very strong words later on. I won't translate. First, I want you to hear her voice. The wife of the Supreme Court that was attacked.
אני לא הולכת לשום מקום, גם אם האדמה עכשיו קצת בוערת. זה לא יעזור לאף אחד. אנחנו נמשיך עם הדרך הנכונה, כי זאת הארץ שלנו. לא יכול להיות...
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving this place. You can keep doing this as much as you want. We are not living. We are not leaving. This is our country. How could you be treating us like this? Now listen to the second part.
שיהודים יעשו ככה אחד לשני. אנחנו ילדים של ניצולי שואה. יהודים ככה פוגעים אחד בשני.
She says, we're kids of Holocaust survivors. How could Jews do this to Jews? Is this real? Right?
איך זה יכול להיות? איך זה יכול להיות?
How could this be?
תסתכלו איזה הרס.
Look at the vandalism.
פוגרום, מה זה פורר בדולח?
Is this the night of shattered glass?
מרגש כמעט הדמעות. שעמד פה עוד משתמט, חבר הכנסת.
And I want to show you, and this is going on with the whole legislating a law that will hopefully get thousands of new soldiers from the ultra-Orthodox, and their rabbis are sending them. I'm not even blaming the vandalists themselves. They're to blame, of course, but the rabbis, it says in Pirkei Avot, right? Chachamim izaru b'divrechem. Watch what you say, because a lie can be learned out of your teachings. And if it's not a lie, I don't know what it is. They should be ashamed of themselves. Instead of stopping them and bringing down the flames, they're sending people to come out and block roads and go to the second in command, Supreme Justice, and harm them and attack them in their own homes. This is terrible, terrible, terrible. There's ways to discuss things even when you disagree about something. But you know what? Now a little bit of taking a breath, because Yonatan Shalev, who's only in his early 20s, says, you know what? I serve in reserves, an elite unit, but I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid from wars going on. I fought in Lebanon, in Gaza and Lebanon. I'm also not afraid from a war going on within my own country. He started an organization called Shoulder to Shoulder, in Hebrew, Katef el Katef, which basically says everybody should give their shoulder. Everybody should be part of serving in the army or serving in a national way, in a different way, national service. Listen to his words and look at the mimics of his face. And again, he's in the young 20s, but this is the future of Israel, the leadership.
ואנחנו לא מפחדים ממלחמות גם בתוך הבית. אני אומר את זה עכשיו פה חד וחלק. אנחנו לא מפחדים. ואנחנו עושים את זה גם עבור ביטחון מדינת ישראל, גם עבור הסולידריות והערכים הסולידריים והשוויוניים שדיברנו עליהם מקודם, וגם עבור שנחיה במדינת ישראל, מדינת ישראל חדשה ומתוקנת, שתהיה ראויה לזכר חברים שלנו שנפלו בקרב.
I want to stop here. Because the last sentence he says, yes, we're doing that for the values that we were raised in, the ideals that I was raised in, the people of Israel, the state of Israel, the solidarity towards each other, being one people. But even more importantly, he says at the end, this last sentence that's written in Hebrew, that we should be worthy, that we should be worthy to the sacrifice of my friends, our friends and brothers and sisters that fell in battle fighting for the people of Israel, that we should be worthy. The word in Hebrew, the two words that I'm going to keep saying again and again in the next 5 minutes, being worthy of the sacrifice of all of our soldiers. Even our president, not long ago, said the following sentence. He said, we were blessed with a people like this, and we have to stop fighting amongst each other. We have to be worthy for those heroes that sacrificed their lives for us.
שהתברכנו בעם שכזה ובדור שכזה, שואלים ומחויבים לשאול את עצמנו כל העת, מה אנו עושים כדי שנהיה ראויים להם, כדי שנהיה ראויים להקרבתם,
How amazing is that? Let's just, we need to improve ourselves to be worthy for their sacrifice. They didn't just die. The sacrifice is unbearable. The parents, the family, the friends, all of us will never forget them. There's so many people that were killed in battles throughout these different wars and throughout the beginning of the war of October 7th until today. Over 2,000 people were either massacred or died in battle. We need to be worthy of those heroes that fought for us every day. One of the people that's trying to do that de facto on the ground is this guy called Matan Yafe. He has 5 kids. He lives in Jerusalem with his wife. And I just found out about him. I told Rabbi about this last week. It's not very well known, but he actually just goes out into Shuk Machane Yehuda, the Machane Yehuda market in Jerusalem, the Carmel market in Tel Aviv, and he puts down a chair and a table. And he asks someone to film him. And he's part of an organization that's called To the Flag, Go to the Flag. If you believe in this state, and I'm talking about the guy in the top screen, he invites people to come and talk to him in a respectful way and not to shy away from issues, whether it's a ultra-Orthodox who's not serving in the army or wants to fight for that issue, or it's someone that disagrees with him politically. Let's learn how to shut up and to listen to each other. Right? Let's do that. Now, that doesn't always work. It heats up. It is the shuk. But look at all the people around, this guy in the black shirt is going to try and talk to him. Listen to this conversation. One example. It's happening at Machane Yehuda Market. People are standing around and taking a look at this conversation.
הוויכוח האם להתגייס לצבא, לחרדים ובכלל, או ללמוד תורה, אני מדגיש על ללמוד תורה, הוא שייך באמונה של אותו בן אדם. ולכן, וזו הסיבה היחידה, הם לא מתגייסים. נקודה. אבל אז אם אני אאמין שלימוד פיזיקה מגן על העם שלנו, מה תעשה? אנחנו במדינה של יהודים. פיזיקה, אף אחד פה לא מאמין, בזה אנחנו מדינה יהודית. אהרון, אני רוצה להגיד לך משהו. אתה קצת כמו נאור נרקיס. הוא משכנע שהאמת שלו היא נכונה, אתה משכנע ששלך. אני מבקש ממך, אתה יכול להאמין במה שאתה רוצה. ובכל זאת, אתה גר במדינת ישראל, אתה חי בכלכלה של מדינת ישראל, יש פה מדינה. הנקודה היא שבמדינת ישראל, אם אנחנו חפצי חיים, כולם צריכים לשרת. זה לא ממקום של שוויון, זה ממקום של קיום. אני היום במקרה באמת לא קשור לזה, שמעתי את ראש מערך כוח אדם בצה"ל אומר שלא חסר, זה מה שאני שמעתי היום. מה אתה אומר על זה? אני אומר שבמלחמת חרבות ברזל נפצעו 23,000 חיילים. בתוכם 4,000 נפצעו פעמיים. אלוף בצה"ל יושב בוועדות הכנסת כבר חצי שנה
You get the idea, but they're talking to each other. This is what we need. This is what we need. People talking to each other. They both, and his movement is called Ela Degel, right? It's all about the flag. We don't have to agree about everything. This is a left-wing comedian married to Mirav Michaeli, once a member of Knesset. His name is Lior Schlein. He's going throughout Israel. He's an amazing speaker. You can agree or not agree with him. He's not afraid to deal with the most extreme on the left and the extreme on the right. He's there to have conversations. It's not always pleasant, but he says we need to realize that this can't happen again. We can't be caught in our weakness. And the weakness is when we don't learn to listen to each other and to find the 80% of things that we can agree about. Serving our country, our love to the country, living in the country, supporting people that serve, and making this as one of the things. Oh, and having a democracy and taking care of our minorities and a few other things we can all agree on. So listen to this. He's talking to girls, religious girls, and they're asking him some interesting questions. Oh, I'm going to keep it small, otherwise you won't see.
לחבר את עם ישראל לשורשים שלו, והנערים האלה שהם מחוברים לשורשים, כשהם יגיעו לצבא, יהיה להם הרבה יותר אנרגיה ורצון להגן על יהודים מאשר אדם שגדל בתל אביב ומתלבט בכלל אם הוא צודק כשהוא נלחם למען המדינה שלו.
תשמע, אתה עושה דבר שאני רואה הרבה אנשים עושים, רק פעם ראשונה אני חווה את זה על בשרי. אתה פשוט מניח הנחות לא נכונות ביודעין, כדי להגיע לאיזשהו טיעון שבינו ובין המציאות אין ביניי שום דבר. אני לא מתלבט לגבי הצורך להגן על המדינה הזאת, גם אם אני תל אביבי, וגם אם אני חילוני, וגם אם אני לא חי על גבעות בלי חשמל ובלי מים. לא. אני רק אומר לך שלדעתי אתם עושים המון נזק. לדעתי, להאמין לא הופך אותך ליותר יהודי ממני, או ליותר ביטחוני ממני, או ליותר מועיל ממני למדינת ישראל.
You know, the amazing thing is, ever since October 7th, and for sure before, every time I talk to someone that I disagree with, and I'm not, these whole discussions in my family, you know, we don't think alike, that's the siblings. Well, a lot of us do, but some of us don't. We have one rule. We don't talk politics when we meet. We don't talk politics during our WhatsApp group chats on our phones. The first thing that people say is immediately, oh, you're a lefty. You're against Bibi. And on the other side, they say, oh, you're a Bibi supporter. It's as if it's like a curse. We have to learn how to talk to each other, and more importantly, to stop talking and listen, even if we're not convincing each other, showing each other respect. I'm not telling you something you don't know, but maybe we need a therapist or something, or someone professional that can actually teach us as kids how to do this. Of course, we need to see it at home, at shul, at the Knesset, all of our leadership. Something has to change because it's getting more and more poisonous and violent, not only physically, people like Mordechai David, but also the words that are being chosen. This guy in the center holding his two hands up is in reserves. His name, he's also a former Knesset member. His name is Yoaz Hendel. I used to take a class with him. That's how I know him a little bit in Hebrew University. And he became, he was a minister of, one of the ministers in a previous government. And he's been serving for over 500 days, that felt like years maybe, in the Israeli reserves. He's not supposed to do this according to his age. He's my age. He's like 50, 52. And he does it because he feels he's needed there. He's in a commando unit. He's an officer. But he also started a political movement called the Miluimnikim. The word Miluimnik means a reservist. The root of that word, Miluimnik, comes from Mem Lamed Aleph, to fill up something that is not filled enough, right? What are the reservists doing? It's not enough to have the 18 to 21-year-old soldiers. We need the reserves to fill up, lemaleh, right? The Miluimnikim are there to help when they're needed. Over 300,000 of them were brought to the army in Order Number 8, an immediate extreme army saying, come right now, it's an emergency, in October 7th. A lot of them are back and forth, not seeing their family too much, not back at work too much, and their life has changed. But he says, I will be a Miluimnik as far as I'm needed to, because this is my country. But I want to make sure that everybody's there, giving a shoulder, giving a hand, giving help. And it's not only the same people again, and again. So this is the name of his political movement. And it's people from the right side and left side that are going to vote for him. People that do believe in serving and maybe serve themselves in the Miluim. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people. So it says Hamiluimnikim, the reservists, headed by Yoaz Hendel. And then the last three words on the bottom, saving Israel. Matzilim et Israel. This is just another guy I think it's important to hear and see, but if you get a chance to write down his name is Chili Troper. I'm not sure how to spell Troper in English, but if you Google Chili Troper, he is a politician. He's an education person. He's a head of a school in Ramle, helped a very difficult city in a school called Branko Weiss, but then became a politician. And he keeps saying again and again and again, I don't care about the wording of right and left. We need to figure out how to come together. We need to figure out what are the things that we can agree on first. We could then talk about the things we don't agree about, but let's find the majority of things that we do agree about and make, a basis for conversation to improve this land. Him and other peoples like him, this is not a political organization, are starting this new movement I told you about before, but it has different names today. The name of the organization is Anashim Achim Anachnu, right? These people, including the second from left, a friend of mine, Meir Schwartz, basically are saying, just like Abraham said to Lot, right? Abraham's shepherds and Lot's shepherds in Genesis fighting over land and over the, everything that they own. And Abraham says, you know what? You'll go right, I'll go left. You go left, I'll go right. We're brothers. Ki anashim achim anachnu. Anashim achim anachnu. Anashim achim anachnu. Anashim, people, achim, brothers, anachnu. We are brothers. Let's figure it out. We don't have to agree. I have big conversations and talks with some of my family sometimes, and it's not fun, but we're able to talk. We set a way to talk that at the end of everything, we shake hands or give like a little hug, and we say, I totally agree with everything you say and some of the things you represent in those things that you said. But I know you want the best for Israel. I know you want a democracy that you yourself serve, that your family serves, that you believe in all these ideals that we pretty much all believe in. So we have to figure out how to do this. And I think if I had to end this session before I hear your comments and statements, I do want to say, I think looking from within Israel and from afar, these are not easy times. This week has, I can't even tell you from my business point of view, again, all of my July days, because of the bombing, because of the missiles a day and a half ago, it's down the drain, and it's terrible, and I'm annoyed, and I want to scream sometimes, and I'm not giving up. And we're not giving up. We're not giving up because how did the wife of the justice say, this is our country, and whether it's enemies or people that become your enemies from the inside, they shouldn't be your enemies. We should learn how to act towards each other and listen to each other and work together. And we know that there's enemies around us. We can't afford to be weak. We have to have this resilience. But the most important statement I want to say at the end of this session is the following. Look, there are so many good, amazing, idealistic, Zionist, merciful, I don't know what words to bring, beautiful people in Israel on the right side of the politics and on the left side of the politics. My friends, my family, all around us. Some of them big leaders, some of them just, the regular guys from the street, and they're everywhere. I showed you an example of some of them. And we really, really, really care. Ichpat lanu. That's in Hebrew, we care. We care so much that we argue, that we sometimes are led by extremists who poison this environment and atmosphere. We cannot look only at that when we look at Israel. We need to look at people like Yonatan Shalev, the young guy that says, we need to be worthy for the soldiers that sacrificed. And we have to look at leaders like Chili Tropel or Yoaz Hendel or the guy in the Shuk that's brave enough, not just to fight in Lebanon, literally fight and endanger his life, but to be in a dangerous place. It's not so easy when at least 50% of the people around you disagree with you, and to say things out loud. How many of us say out loud and are not afraid to say what they think? It could sometimes almost be dangerous and very uncomfortable. We have people that are willing to fight and people that are willing to fight and live for their values, for their country, for their people, no matter what side of politics they're in. Anashim achim anachnu. Brothers and sisters, that's it. And by the way, just so I'm very clear, that includes not only the Jews of Israel, in my perspective, it includes anybody that's Israeli here. He's part of the same melting pot, right? And I'm not excluding anybody from this. We're all achim. We have to all contribute. We have to all give each other the hug when we need it. We do it, right? We give that hug, that support, and we have to never forget that we're brothers. So many good, amazing new leaders and young people. We may have thought they're like the millennials. They only know how to use their thumbs and their cell phones. No, these are the future leaders that are going to change our country to the better, taking baby steps forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for being with me. I want to open it up to questions and thoughts. And I'll say again, I put up the picture here of my email. If any of you want to join our Sunday newsletters, meaning on Wednesday, I send you a newsletter saying join me for my next Zoom tour on Sunday. If you want me to send you an email, send me an email with, and I'll know your address and be able to send that to you. The Sunday free tours go to different places all over the country. Let's hear a little bit of comments. Let's stop sharing, and let's hear a few comments and thoughts about what we just did today.
Anybody here? Go, yes, Deborah.
Hi, I was just wondering if you could send the rabbi a list of all different ways we can help Israel out, places we can volunteer. I know in October here in Highland Park we're having I think like 120 Chayalim who are from the unit where you saw the helicopter rescuing people. And they're coming in and we're hosting them. That's just one way, but how are other ways? Where is money needed? Where if you can send him a listing and then he could send it out to us, that would be great. I would really appreciate that.
So that's an amazing idea, and I will do that. I don't have a list, but specific list. There's probably hundreds of places. I will try and give you a list of places I visited in the past 2.5 years with the solidarity groups and places that are really part of the places that are very impressive. So definitely, and thanks you for bringing that up.
Anybody else here in the room? Yeah.
Ask him also for the website to order from the northern.
Oh, the website for the website for the Northern Community Business, right? Is it safon.il?
I will send it to you, Rabbi. I'll look it up again. Okay. I'm just taking notes. I'm writing to take notes. I'll send you that, and if you could, I think it's Safon, tzafon.co.il, but I will look it up and send it to you.
I wrote it down. It was safon.il.com.
Safon.
Okay.
Safon.il. Ruth, you'll send it to me.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat, okay?
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Thank you, Ruth.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, we will. Okay. Safon.il.com. Okay. Anybody else here in the room or online? We got. So our time is up, but.
I just want to tell everybody that I've been already to 2 of your Sunday lectures, and they were fabulous. So if you have time, if you can do this, it's 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, right?
Are they taped? Our time.
I don't know.
I don't know if are they taped, Moshe?
They are taped. Usually when you start coming, yeah. So I kind of want people to come to the sessions, but once you start coming, I'm happy to send a link or two. If you miss a session, I'm happy to send you a link after each session.
What's the next one? What's your this Sunday at 1 o'clock?
I'm trying to figure out if it's going to be something up north or something by Jerusalem connected to the Castel in the 1948 war. The ones we've done so far are Old Jerusalem, New Jerusalem, the city of Tzfat, Beersheba, and Tel Aviv Jaffa. But some of them I'm going to actually do again because a lot of people want to do the New Jerusalem or the Old Jerusalem or Tzfat. So I'm gonna tomorrow, if you send me an email to my Gmail over there in the chat, moshegold75@gmail.com, I will send out a newsletter, a short few sentences saying, this is what you're doing, this is how you register. It's a very easy technical process to get a link to join us at 1 p.m. Eastern time every Sunday.
Excellent. All right. Why don't we leave it there? Moshe, last word.
Rabbi, I just want to say thank you to all of you once again. It's always amazing to visit. Rabbi, I hope to come by in November and meet you all in person and maybe give one of those lectures. I'm trying, moving forward on planning that. But I also want to thank you for your friendship. It was great seeing you in Israel. It's great working with you on this project. I feel like we've done like 4 this year. I know you're going to like a summer vacation or something now as far as this lesson. So toda rabba, as far as this.
The class, yeah.
Aval toda rabba for this opportunity, and it's I hope it's strengthening and giving you knowledge, the way it's giving me strength and my family strength as well. I appreciate our connection. I look forward
Moshe,
to
thank you so
continuing.
much, and it's always great. And we
Yasher
always learn
Kar,
more.
thank you.
It's the connection that really matters.
דני אומר שלום, דני מוסר תודה.
Tell him I say hi too. תודה, תודה.
ליה
Thank you, everyone.
בתגלית עכשיו בארץ.
Amazing.
הבת של
Amazing.
דני.
All right, we're going to end it here. Thank you so much, everyone, for being online. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you.
תודה חברים, בוקר טוב. ביי ביי.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
ביי ביי.